and welcome back to another conversation on mindset. Have you ever received feedback that literally felt like it made your blood boil? It just triggered you right when you heard it? That's the feedback that we're going to talk about today. How do you handle feedback that hurts? And so anybody that's on the journey of doing something awesome, you have received feedback that hurts. And we're going to break it down. Before we do so, though, a very quick review. Session 1, we talked about E plus R equals O. Events plus the way we respond to them equals the outcome. Where have you experienced events this past week? How are you responding to them? Next, we talked about pressing pause and controlling the controllables. Where your focus goes is where your energy will flow. And last time, we started to break down that little voice inside of you that is customized, created based on how you were raised to be a limiter, to remind you, to try and force you to play it small and safe. And what we talked about is how do you embrace it? How do you question it? And how do you go towards it to unlock new levels of freedom? And so today we're going to use all of those when we break down feedback. So when I was writing this book, Win in the Dark, it was a labor of love, as many might say. It was challenging. This is a story about my journey in a lot of respects. I poured hours and hours, years into developing the concepts that it took me to then write another year into a book. And so to say the least, it's a personal book and it's close to my heart. Now the challenge is when you publish art, which I view this as publishing art, and you put it out there for the world to see, one of the challenges is that you lose control of it. And the beautiful thing about Amazon is that they make it super easy for people to give you feedback or score you on a scale of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you can look up Win in the Dark right now and you'll see that it has 85% 5 stars, 11% 4 stars, 1% 3, 1% 2, and 1% 1 star. When you get feedback, where does your mind go to? Does it go to the majority that are giving you great feedback, or does it go to the 1? Yeah, my little person voice goes to the 1, much like many of you. And so Amazon makes it really easy. I can click on that 1-star review and see what they had to say, which I want to share with you today. So here's what Kay Wilk, whoever that is, read the book and had to say. I tried hard to get into this book. I had high expectations from some of the reviews online. However, the story wasn't good. The setting was not relevant to most of the world population, and the points were average at best. You can learn as much listening to a 30-minute podcast as you can from reading this book. Not a fan. In case you were wondering, she or he clarified it at the end. I gotta be real. That stings. Like, not a good story. Man, I poured everything into my story. It's about my grandpa, who is one of the better mentors in my life. Hard feedback. And so 3 things that I'm going to share with you that's worked for me when I've received hard feedback like this is, number 1, can I commit to taking nothing personally? So what I mean by that is most people, because they're driven by their little person voice of insecurity, fear, and self-doubt, their feedback is usually inaccurate or exaggerated, or it's more of a reflection of them than it is of you. And so I take nothing personal, meaning I don't take what he or Kay Wilk said personally, and I don't take the people that wrote a 5-star review personally. It's more of a reflection of where are they at in life instead of myself. Now that's way different than what my little man voice wants to say. When I saw that review from Kay Wilk the first time, my initial thought was, who are you if you are so smart? Why don't you write a book that's way better? Wow, don't you have anything better to do with your life than to go on Amazon and hammer somebody's book? Slow down, little person. Can you not take anything personally? Remembering, this is one of my favorite phrases, it's not about your mama. So my mom, who loves me as much as anybody, is going to probably be watching this purely because she just loves watching me. And that's how cool she is. So if you would make fun of my mama, you're going to get the defensive side of Lucas to come out. But the feedback that we're getting is usually not about our mothers. It's about our teaching styles. It's about a book that we wrote. It's about many different things. So the challenge is, can you be fully committed to the process of whatever you're doing that you care about? But can you be detached from the results? Because number 2, after not taking anything personal and how to handle hard feedback, number 2 is, what do you want to do? You get to choose. Do you want to improve or do you want to prove yourself? Now, one isn't necessarily better than the other. I'll be honest. If you're like in a master's class, for example, and you're incredibly busy and you just want to get this class done and your professor loves Greek mythology and you couldn't give a dang about Greek mythology, but you have to write a 10-page paper on it. Maybe you just want to get it done, improve your initial knowledge, get the grade, and be done. You don't care about improving there. I'm talking about, what are the areas in your life where you do care about them? Maybe in how skilled of a parent you are. Maybe in your health. I recently just, about a few months ago, joined a CrossFit gym. And I am an amateur when it comes to Olympic lifting. To the point where, for those that don't know, CrossFit, they kind of rank you every class of how you performed. I was taking dead last every time, behind the ladies, behind the men in my class. One day, just a side note, one day this person came in and I kind of got the feel that I was leading them, that I was in front of her. And at the end of the day, I just noticed the results and I saw that I was. The next day she came back to say, yeah, yesterday I took it easy, went about 60% because I'm pregnant. And I was like, yes, Lucas, don't take this personal. Are you here to improve or prove yourself? There are times when you just want to prove yourself and be done. But there are other times when you actually want to improve. So for me, at the gym, it looks like asking people who are kicking my butt every single day, how do I do it better? So what is it for you that you care a lot about? And what are you more committed to doing? If you operate according to your little person voice, our little person voice is obsessed with proving ourselves, looking good, moving up the made-up hierarchy we have of who's coolest. And that doesn't go away once we graduate middle school or high school. Many adults are run by their little person voice that's obsessed with proving ourselves. So what do you want more? Are you here to improve or are you here to prove? Because when it comes to feedback, people that want to improve, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt to get challenging feedback, but we lean into it. You go towards it. People that are here to prove themselves and their worth depends on being proven, they're going to avoid hard feedback at all costs, which leads me to the third aspect of today. How do you handle hard feedback is understanding that people that lean in to hard feedback, it takes courage. It is a skill. And where in your life did you get taught how to handle the emotional side of hard feedback? More than likely, not. As teachers, we're really good at giving feedback all the time. But often we can very quickly not let our kids give us feedback or not show them how we're accepting or getting feedback from other areas of my life. One thing in my students that I show them is I let them look at the reviews of my work on Amazon. I want them to see that I get 1-star reviews. I want them to see where I'm struggling, to help them see that I am in the arena with them. Some of you may know the quote of Man in the Arena, but I fully believe in it. That the arena is reserved for people who are willing to take shots from people in the cheap seats who might just want to give hard feedback. But the arena is reserved for those that want to be alive, who are committed to something so much that not only are we willing to lean into feedback, but you search it out. So the last thing today is, as you go through these steps in accepting and working with hard feedback, it's number one, what would happen to you if you take nothing personal? If you would see the things that people say or the things that people look at you and how they respond to you as more of a reflection of them that anything to do with you, what would change? Number 2, are you committed to improving or proving? And then third, seeing anytime that you get hard feedback and sit with it is a sign of courage. What would change? And then I would challenge you to not just lean into the feedback, but search it out. I get to learn from the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball team. They have a protocol called 1 up and 1 down. Anytime anybody delivers a speech or a lesson, they share one thing that went well and one thing that was a down, that could have gotten better. And that's just part of the culture. What would happen if you started asking your students, hey, at the end of this week, I want one thing that I did well as a teacher, but also what's one way that I might be able to get better? It takes courage because you don't know what they're going to say. What would happen as a parent if you started asking, hey, what's one thing I did to be a great dad this week? What's one thing that I could do a little bit better? And what we model there is you're not a piece of china. You're not going to break when they tell you something that you weren't perfect in. Believe me, you'll probably have to coax out the hard feedback. But showing people that hard feedback is actually an essential part of the learning process. And the best learners search out the feedback and they can get through that loop faster. Learn, get feedback, try a new thing. Learn, get feedback, try a new thing, and continuing this loop. So, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate your time, energy, and I hope that this lesson on accepting hard feedback was helpful.